Hello, my name's Michael Conneely, and this is part 2 of my video, 2 big new discoveries about the truth of Chiron. So see part 1 first, where I outline 2 discoveries I made last night to do with the discovery, the moment of discovery of Chiron, which to my mind adds further proof to the fact that he is the wounded healer who came into the Western consciousness in 1977, at a time when alternative healing has flowered, when shamanic work has flowered, when men's work, gained great momentum. And, I do courses and readings which include Chiron and offer a Chiron vision journey, Meet the Centaur. But the purpose of this part 2 is basically to give you a sort of idea what it means to understand and see your existential wound in your birth chart. Very quickly, just very simply, so that you can see, well, would it be a good idea if I got a reading or did a course which would open me to this perception about what the wound is, so that I can go through a healing process, be healed, and heal others. Well, first of all, I think I want to say, and it's very subtle, think about the situation if you've got Chiron conjunct Mars. Well, that can mean you're just too martial, too aggressive. Or it can mean, you're never allowed to be your Mars, you've always got to be polite, and would you mind if, and all that. And weirdly, the third possibility is you could actually be both. You could swing from one to the other because you were never set a decent example of the management of the energy of Mars. And of course, Chiron conjunct Mars can mean, the man in your life, your father, was very wounded, and so being brought up by a wounded father wounded you. It is so good to have a reading or do a course where you can go into the detail of that. But remember, my work combines Western with Vedic astrology. So then you can go on to look, where is Mars in that person's in that person's Vedic birth chart? And so let's say that Mars is in that person's Scorpio 5th house. Well, you see, that would add you the extra information which Western astrology couldn't, that person's Mars was potentially very occult, dedicated to focused development of occult perception, and also being in the 5th house. Well, 5th house is never good for experience of children. And so that sort of widens the depiction of your existential wound. It offers you better perception on which to base the needed healing. Because remember, Chiron himself gained a terrible wound in the thigh and accepted death and rebirth so that humanity could receive the healing fire of the gods. That's been covered in part 1. Okay, I'm going to give a second example and then a third. So the second example is Chiron conjunct Venus. Now, this often means there can be a wound to how you love. You just can't get it together for whatever reason to love. Maybe, in fact, Vedic astrology may reveal you've got planets in, like the Vedic nakshatra, which has no natural mate. For example, Uttarashada. And maybe it means also that you will love someone who is wounded. And of course there are difficulties loving someone who is wounded because maybe that someone can't love back. But let's take it one step further, and this is very important. Say that Venus-Chiron conjunction is conjunctly nodes, the north node, the south node, Rahu, Ketu. Now, Western astrology has what's called evolutionary astrology, where the position of the nodes of the moon indicates karmic scripts. And because it's Western astrology, it says how we'll deal with those and express them psychologically. But Vedic astrology also uses the nodes of the moon in the Vedic birth chart to declare our incarnational destiny, coming in from Ketu, the south node, being driven across our birth chart to realize the qualities of Rahu, the north node, and purify those qualities as we go. And in my example of someone who has Chiron conjunct Venus, a wound to love, let's say that Chiron Venus is also conjunct Ketu. Now, to have your Venus conjunct Ketu is a terrible wound to love. It indicates that in past life you experienced rejection, past lives maybe experienced rejections, and so you'll mess up love in this life. Get in there with the rejection first, rather than be rejected again. And I've seen that script over and over again. So I'm trying to show you the benefits of Chiron astrology and bringing in Vedic astrology. Also, when you have planets square the nodal axis, as per Western evolutionary astrology teaching, that indicates that that planet was a missed step in previous life, and you really did incarnate this time to understand what was wrong. What have you carried in wrong about the way you express your son, or whatever in this life? With a view to healing it, of course. So when you add Chiron to nodal astrology, you don't just have your individual wounded healer. You also have your karmic scripts, your incarnational life purpose brought in as well. So have a look at my websites, have a reading, do one of my courses, have a Chiron mini reading, a Chiron mini course. I look forward to you getting in touch. Thank you.